Okay, welcome to the new video. Today we're going to discuss physics O levels 5054. The paper is winter 2023. It's October November 2023. Paper 1 variant 1. So question number 1 says which description is of a scalar quantity. You need to recall about scalar and vector quantities. The scalar quantities, they only have a magnitude and a unit, while the vector quantities, they have a magnitude and a unit and a direction as well. So it is going to be the D, because it does not have a direction, so there is a direction involved in all A, B, C. So in question number 2 it says the diagram shows a distance time graph for the car traveling in a straight line. In which region is the car decelerating? If you see the gradient, this is a distance time graph. The gradient of the graph is going to tell you the velocity. In this, if you draw the tangents, the tangent gradient is increasing, so it means the velocity is increasing here. About B, it is staying constant velocity because the gradient is staying constant, while in C the gradient is decreasing. Since it's decreasing, so it means the the value is decreasing. Whenever the velocity is decreasing, it's always decelerating. In D it is not moving, so object is at rest. In question number 3 it says the wooden block is pushed across a table at a constant speed. Which statement is correct? The frictional force increases as the block moves at a constant speed. It does not. Friction force has to be constant, equal to the pushing force. The friction force is equal and opposite to the pushing force. Yes, that is a correct answer. Let's see the C and D. The frictional force is greater. If the frictional force is greater than the pushing force, it must be decelerating. It should not be moving at a constant speed. The frictional force is less than the pushing force. If frictional force is less than pushing force, it must be accelerating. Since it is moving at a constant speed, therefore B is the right answer. A car begins to move. It speeds up until it reaches a constant speed. What happens to the acceleration and what happens to the velocity of the car? So when it begins to speed up, it speeds up, the acceleration is changing and velocity is also changing. And when it is constant speed, the velocity is not changing and acceleration is 0. But they are changing since it has to speed up at the start. Only acceleration changes, no velocity also changes. Only velocity changes, no acceleration also changes. Neither velocity nor acceleration changes, both changes. So A is the right answer. The next question, it says the diagram shows how the length of the spring changes when the load of 10 Newton is suspended from it. That 10 Newton load is replaced with 20 Newton. What is the new length of the spring? That's easy. First of all, you will apply Hooke's law, which is F is equals to Kx. Now the load was initially 10 and the extension we need to find out from here, which is 8 minus 5, that is 3. So I'm going to use 3 as an extension. Now 10 over 3 is going to give you the K. For I'm going to apply this again. Now the force is 20, so I have to change this to 20. So by solving this, I'm going to get 60 over 10, which is equals to 6. So my extension is 6 centimeter, but he's asking for the new length of the spring. So you need to add initial length plus extension. So 6 plus 5 is 11. So that's your answer. A force F causes a moment about the point O on a L-shaped bar. The force F acts at a point P. What is the moment of F about O? That's very easy. Whenever you need to involve a moment, a force has to have a perpendicular distance. So there is only one distance which is perpendicular to this. So F into D4, that is your moment. In question number 7 it says the meter rule of a weight W is pivoted at 25 centimeter mark and held horizontal by a force F applied upward at 100 mark. The ruler is supported by the vertical force acting at a pivot. So now it's very easy. We have two you can say conditions for the equilibrium. Number one is that the clockwise moment is equals to anti-clockwise moments. Let's do that first. You know this is a distance 25. So W times 25, that is your clockwise moment. and your anti-clockwise moment is F times this whole distance, which is 75. Since you need to give the value in W, so I'm going to find out F in terms of W. So when I'm going to divide this 75 here, my F will be equals to W over 3. This is how I simplified it. Now for the second condition, upward force is equals to downward force. So we have a P plus F that is equals to W. So we need to find out P. We have a W minus F. Now W is there, F is W over 3. So when we find out this value, this is going to be 2W over 3. So that's this answer. The diagram shows a stationary fair grounded ride with a 4 chairs equal mass. Which chair has a most gravitational potential energy? So most gravitational potential energy is the one which is going to have the greatest height, right? So which one is the greatest height? This is this A. This is the greatest height from the ground, so it has the greatest potential energy. Now let's move on to the 9. It says hydroelectric and tidal power stations generate electricity. Do these uses renewable sources of energy? Hydroelectric, you know, it is water. Water is a renewable source. Tidal is also a renewable source, so they both are renewable sources. Which energy source is correctly described? So energy source, biofuels, renewable, yes, it is available all the time. Yes, biofuels are available all the time. Nuclear, renewable, intermittent. So actually nuclear is not renewable because it will run out at some time. Solar radiation is a renewable, so no is wrong here. Wind is also renewable, so only this has all three correct options. A small motor has an input power of 10 watt and is switched off for 5 minutes. What is the electrical energy input to the motor at this time? That's very easy. So energy is equals to pt, so that's power, and time is 5, so I need to convert it into seconds as well. So 5 into 6, 300 times 3 is 3000. That's your answer. So two liquids X and Y are poured into the beaker of different size. Liquid X has a density 1000 and liquid Y has a density 900. On the base of which beaker is the pressure the greatest? So you need to remember that the liquid X has a greatest density. So these two are greater dense, they have greatest density, but these two have the same depth as well. So due to the density, this is going to have the greatest pressure. Question number 13 says a swimmer is at the bottom of the pool. The density of the water pool is 1000 and the gravitational field strength is this. Which expression gives the pressure exerted on the swimmer due to water? So it's just due to water, so you don't need to add a we can say that atmospheric pressure into this. So pressure due to water is W rho GH. So density is given as 1000, G is given as 9.8 and depth is given as 5. So it is 1000 times 5 times 9.8 pascals. This is B. some gas is trapped in a large syringe. Atmospheric pressure is 100 K. The gas pressure is 200 pascals above atmospheric pressure. The piston moves outwards, and the volume of the volume of the trapped gas is doubles. The temperature remains constant. What is the new pressure? So that's easy. You know, we have a formula P1 V1 is equals to P2 V2. So gas pressure is 200 pascals above atmospheric pressure, right? So the gas pressure is 300 here. So the volume is V. Now since the volume is doubled, so when we're going to find pressure, so it is going to be 300 V 2V, so that's 150. The graph of a temperature against the time is shown for the material being heated from its solid state. Describe which row describes what's happening at x, y, and z. At x, it says from a solid state, so at x it will be melting. At y, liquid becoming hotter, and at z it should be boiling, so it should be D. A student on a camping expedition cools a sealed bottle of water which is at the same temperature as surrounding. Which method cools the water at the greatest rate? So wrap the water in aluminum foil and place in the shady place. That is going to reflect everything inside, so that's wrong. Wrap the bottle in a dry white paper and put it in the sunny place. That's wrong as well, because you need to cool it. Wrap the bottle in the foam and put it in the breeze. Wrap the bottle in wet paper and put it into the breeze. Yes. So what is going to do it? The vapors from the wet paper is going to take away the energy of the water and evaporate, leaving behind the colder. So this is what evaporation does. A student suggests 3 factors that affect the rate of emission of thermal energy by radiation from the hot object, and these are the surface temperature of an object, the surface area of an object, the surface color of an object. Which suggestions are correct? So actually radiation is dependent on all of them. Yes, so it is all because radiation is that has nothing to do with the other things, so it's dependent on everybody, all of the 3 top things. And next it says the plane mirror on a vertical wall forms an image of an object placed in front of it. What characteristics describe the image? Plane mirror has always a virtual and upright, because you cannot take it on the screen, and if you see yourself in a plane mirror, it will always be upright. You never see yourself inverted. So in 19, the diagram shows the light in a air incident on a surface of the glass block. Some light is reflected and some light is refracted. Diagram shows the reflection and refraction of the light. So that's wrong, because reflection is not this way. Reflection is shown correctly, but refraction is wrong, so B is wrong. And this, it should bend towards the normal, it's bending away from normal, so that's wrong. This is the correct. See, the reflection is also correct, and refraction, rather than going straight, it bends towards the normal, so that is also correct. Total internal reflection, which statement is correct? Total internal reflection occurs when the light comes from air into the glass. That's wrong, it is opposite. The larger the refractive index, the larger is the critical angle. That is also wrong. When a total internal reflection occurs, the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. Yes, that is the correct answer. When a total internal reflection occurs, the angle of incidence is less than. That's wrong, so C is the right answer. Linear magnification, you can divide by image size over object size. The image is 1 to 3 blocks, object is 1.5, so 3 divided by 1.5, that is equals to 2. So in 22, which range of the sound frequencies includes only frequency of the sound that can be heard by the healthy human ear. Healthy human ear can hear from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, so this is the only range that he can hear. An aircraft, this is less range, this is also less, and this is greater because it cannot hear more than 20,000 hertz. An aircraft through the air becomes electrically charged. What causes this to happen? So background radiation, that's wrong. Friction of the aircraft with the air, yes, it is one of the cause. Heating of the aircraft surface, that's wrong. The radio waves, that's also wrong, so B is the right answer. Two metal spheres are brought close to each other. The two surface spheres repel each other. Which statement explains this? Both spheres are charged, but both are positive. Yes, they should be same charge, so they need to repel. Let's see the other ones. Both spheres are charged, but one of them positive, the other one is negative. Then it should be attracting, that should not be repelling. The spheres have the same number of electrons, that's wrong. They can have varied number of electrons. The sphere have the same number of protons, that's wrong, because it never says that it's of made of the same material, so it is A. What makes the it says the student setups the circuit as shown. The lamp does not light up. What makes the lamp light up? Changing the supply, that has nothing to do with the supply. Insert a fuse, that has nothing to do with the fuse. Reversing the battery connection, yes, that because actually diode does not allow the current to flow from this direction, so it will only allow the current to flow through this direction. So if you change the terminal of the batteries, that will allow this bulb to light up. 26, it says there is a PQ, each contain two identical resistors. One is a series, the other one is a parallel. So let's say the resistance of the circuit P is 2R, and while the other one is 1 over R is equals to 1 over R plus 1 over R. This is combined. So if you keep it R, this is 2, 1 over R. If you take reciprocal, so RC will be equals to R over 2. So that's C. In next question it says the current in the electric motor is 2 amperes. It transfers 20 joules of energy at 5 seconds. What is the potential difference across the motor? First of all, you will apply Q is equal to IT to find charge. Q is equals to 2 times T, which is 10 coulombs, and now V is equals to W over Q. So work done is 20, charge is 10, so that's 2 volt. Three student comments about the appliances with a double insulation. The student P, appliances with a double insulation do not need an earth wire. The student, double insulation protects the user of the appliance from the electric shock, and the circuit of the appliance with the double insulation do not contain a fuse. Fuse has nothing to do with the double insulation, so it should be both student P and Q which are correct. In next question it says the magnet moves at a constant speed through the coil. The coil is connected to an oscilloscope. The diagram shows a trace of produces on the screen. The experiment is changed and the new trace is produced. So now it says which statement explains why the new trace is different from the original trace. So it says the coil is longer and the other pole of the magnet enters the coil first. Yes, that can be reason because see there is a difference in the trace. There's a this trace becomes a longer now, and also the peak changes. It was down peak first and up peak afterward, and it's doing opposite. So So A can be answered, but let's see what the other. The coil is longer and the same pole. No, that's wrong. The coil is shorter and the other pole. That's wrong. The coil is shorter because if it would have been shorter, then it would have smaller time period. So the curve should be squeezed, not stretched. The bar magnet is dropped through a vertical solenoid that is connected in a sensitive ammeter. The current is induced in the solenoid and the solenoid becomes electromagnet. Which rows describe the polarity of the end Y of solenoid and the force between the solenoid and the bar magnet when the bar magnet leaves the solenoid. When it is going to leave the solenoid, according to the Lenz's law, it will always be attracted, right? So on the polarity of the end Y of the solenoid, um, it has to have north because it has to have south to attract this magnet, and the force is attraction, because this is what Lenz's law says, that it will always oppose the motion producing it. If it is coming closer to each this, it's going to repel it. If it is going away, it is going to attract it. Which graph shows the voltage output against the time for a simple AC generator? So the voltage has to be a positive and a negative. So this is only positive. This is not a smooth one. That's not a smooth one as well. So that's always a sinusoidal curve. Sinusoidal means like a sine type thing. A charger of a mobile phone, cell phones uses a transformer which steps the voltage down from 2 to this. The primary coil is the transformer is at this turns. How many turns are this? This is very easy. Vp over Vs is equals to Np over Ns. So primary coil was 230, secondary coil was 5. Primary coil had a 500 turns, and this has, we need to do it this way, multiply them together. Let's use a calculator. So that's going to be 54. You can do it with your calculator. So the commutator is connected to a coil or DC motor. The commutator rotates and connects the coil to the power supply. Once every half turn, the current in the coil reverses. Right. It says, what is the name of the commutator? It always is the split ring commutators, right? And what is the orientation of the plane of the coil as the current reverses? It is at a perpendicular position, because this brushes is the one which is going to come in this gap. That is when the current is reverses, disconnects and reverses. So a girl make a simple transformer to illuminate a low voltage bulb lamp. A transformer is shown. This is a supply, this is a lamp. What is a material of rod and what is the type of power supply? The rod always has to be the iron rod, because it has to take the magnetic field from one end to the other one to induce magnetism. So it has to be this, and the power supply has to be a alternating supply, because alternating supply will have a rate of change of magnetic flux, because when the current changes its direction, there will be a change in flux. Otherwise, when the coil is stagnant, the rod is stagnant, nothing is moving, there will be no rate of change of magnetic flux if the DC supply is there. Which particles are in the nucleus of a large atom? Neutrons and protons are in the nucleus. You might have studied in your chemistry. The alpha particle, beta particles are emitted during a radioactive decay. Which particles have weaker ionizing effect and has a weaker penetration power? Weaker ionization is a beta and weaker penetration is alpha. Alpha can be even blocked in air, few centimeter of air. In 37 it says a beta particle passes the magnetic field into the electric field. Which number shows the path of the beam through the fields? For beta, yeah, for coil you'll use Fleming's left hand rule. whenever you'll use Fleming left hand rule, it will be uh, going down 3. For this you can use your Fleming left hand rule to check this, and for this beta is a negative charge, so it has to be always attracting towards this, so it is 6, so it should be 3 and 6. Isotope radon has a half-life of 3.8 days. Which statement about the sample containing 1 gram of radium radon is correct? After 1.9 days there will be 0.5, no. After 3.8 days there will be 0. Yes, because half of it will be gone and half of it will be left. What is the first stage of the life cycle of a star? So a black hole is the last stage. A cloud of gas and dust, yes. Red supergiant is the middle stage. Supernova is also in the middle stage. What is the definition of redshift? Increase in observed frequency of the light from the galaxies that are moving away. No, it is always of the wavelength that are moving away. Increase in the observed wavelength of the light from the galaxies that are moving away from the earth. Doppler effect, if you like, study that in detail, but from the redshift it is always the wavelength of the light, observation of the wavelength of the light from the galaxies that are moving away. So that's it for the today's paper. I hope I've tried to solve it as quickly as possible, so to reduce your time. uh, so thank you very much. See you in the next video.